Summer Death by Marietta is one of those rare albums that makes you want to die, but in a fun way. Every song on this record makes you feel worthless and insignificant, but in the most endearing way possible. And like any good emo band, they're no longer together.
Alright, we're Marietta. This is our last show. Thank you for coming.
I remember it was fall of 2013 when my cousin Ben texted me saying, "Hey, I found this band I think you'd like." I distinctly remember being on the floor of my bedroom on my knees, either kneeling over a bundle of records or some neatly folded sweatshirts to take aesthetic pictures for Tumblr. I wish that part was a joke, but it's not. I remember when I saw their name in the text, I thought to myself, Marietta, why is that so familiar? I clicked on the Bandcamp link and fired up Summer Death, laughing at the first name of the track. As I was glancing at their Bandcamp page, I noticed a familiar looking image, and then it clicked. They were the band that filled the other half of the split with Modern Baseball. I admittedly hadn't listened to their side of the split hardly as much as I did Modern Baseball's at that time, and then it really hit me. I had been sleeping on this band. And when you're a teenager, say 16 or 17, the idea that you've been missing out on something is a much bigger deal than it is when you're an adult. But the reality was I hadn't been sleeping on them that hard. I'd still have a few years left to enjoy them. Well, 2 years to be specific, but it felt like way less than that. Today we'll be taking a closer look at Summer Death, aiming to uncover what makes this record so painfully authentic, why the lyrics are strangely impactful, and how the instrumentation and vocal delivery brings those words to life. The way Summer Death was released went something like this. On October 15th of 2013, Marietta was like, "Hey, we're releasing an album, here's the name of it and the album cover," and then the album was released just 6 days after that announcement. They didn't really do any fancy promotion or social media gimmicks or anything like that because they didn't have to. The music spoke for itself. The recording process for Summer Death was all over the place, and I don't mean that figuratively. They literally recorded it in a bunch of different places, something that I think gives it even more charm and character. Their friend Eric Muth set them up at East Room Recordings where drums were recorded, and following that they simply recorded the rest wherever they could. Some of it was recorded at Ethan and Evan's house, some of it was actually recorded at the Modern Baseball Michael Jordan house, and the remainder was finished at Drexel's recording studios. The 4 recording locations only served to make this record feel more real, because after you think about it for a second, you realize that this record only happened because they wanted it to, and it only sounds this good because they chose to make it sound that good. They wanted to make it happen so bad, and they did. There were no label executives, no fancy recording equipment, and there was nothing easy about what they did, but they still did it because they wanted to. And it doesn't get any more pure than that. In late December of that year, they'd put out Summer Death on vinyl through Softspeak Records, something that most bands can only dream of. But I think the coolest thing about that, besides the fact that this young band was getting their debut record pressed, was the way they sold the vinyl. I consider this a character-defining moment for Marietta as a band. You know how certain labels will do a fundraiser where 50% of profits will go to some charity? Well, that's what Marietta did, except 100% of profits went to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It says a lot about their motives, because when you consider the circumstances, they were very young guys in their early 20s, a time where many seek out fame, fortune, and power, but despite their debut record blowing up, in a sense, they weren't tempted to try to cash in, because that's not why they were doing this. And to be clear, I'm sure in one way or another they profited from the band during their run. However, the fact that a group of young guys decided to take no profit from the sales of their debut record that was seemingly going to sell very well on vinyl is a big deal. Even if they would have attempted to cash in and make freaking frisbees, lamps, and tables, I wouldn't have thought any less of them. I just really respect the way that they went about carrying themselves as a band. I never got the chance to catch them live, but I love watching their full sets that are available on YouTube. The best part about watching them play, besides the music part, is watching them interact and give each other looks on stage. I love the whole experience. You can intuitively pick up on the fact that these guys are friends first and a band second, meaning they never let something as silly as a band or money tear them apart. Their bond is the most important part of what they do. Somehow this record is able to make me feel every feeling that I felt from childhood through young adulthood all at once. The word nostalgia doesn't even come close. I'm reminded of when my mom would take my sister and I to Peanut Park. I'm reminded of every sleepover I had in 5th grade and walking around my neighborhood at 3 a.m. with my best friends. I feel it all. Marietta has some of the best lyrical content that I've ever seen from any emo band. They're much more straightforward compared to a band like The Hotelier, just as articulate but in their own way. The lyrics aren't too hard to decode or decipher. What makes them special are the way they're worded and the topics they discuss. For instance, take their most popular song, Cinco de Mayo Shit Show. The first lines go, "Lately it's been getting late, but I'm not tired. And no thanks to sleepless nights spent burning with desire, so I'll get in my car." Which is a very entertaining way of saying I can't fall asleep and don't want to spend the whole night looking at my ceiling going over every mistake I've ever made. A lot of their songs have a self-deprecating, confessional tone, never afraid to be honest, even if it means opening yourself up to a lot of vulnerability, like on So They Left Me at a Gas Station. Have I been forgotten? Oh yeah, I've been forgotten. I don't see the silver lining. I give up on trying. They make me feel okay about my shortcomings and give me the sense that I'm less alone, especially when it comes to dealing with anxiety and other mental health related issues. In preparation of this video, I wrote out all of the lyrics on the album, and this verse from God Bless Eric Taylor hit me in a way that I wasn't anticipating. "Come with me, the water is fine. I need something else to convince me I won't die." To be completely transparent with you mates, in the past few years, my anxiety has gradually gotten worse and worse, sometimes keeping me from doing stuff, and at times it's so bad that I really think that I'm going to die. And those lines to a T describe how I feel when I'm experiencing anxiety. I just want to be with someone or have them beside me because I know that I'm not going to die, but want someone else to be there with me and tell me that everything is going to be okay, even though in the back of my head I know it will be. Anxiety is a really odd thing. The second to last song, Chase I Hardly Know Ya, instantly takes me back to middle school and high school with the line, "Could have seen you in the basement, could have seen you in the hall, but it doesn't even matter, cause it was nothing at all." I'm transported back to the days of when I would plan a very specific, calculated route through the wide hallways in an attempt to run into my crush, and maybe even say hi and ask her to go to Wendy's after school. But inevitably, I'd end up chickening out and then trying to psych myself up saying, "Hey, you'll do it tomorrow," and she'll say yes. All the while, this girl has no idea who I am and probably never will. The more you listen to this record, the more you'll pick up on the nuances. A simple string of 11 words can mean one thing the first time you hear them and a completely different thing the 100th time hearing them. The line I'm referring to is, "We drove to the shoreline with the check engine light on." At first you might think, oh, they went to the beach. But it says a lot about where the writer is at. They're completely lost and looking to express how they feel by getting in their car and driving to the coast. Even if it means disobeying the check engine light and risking seriously damaging your car and possibly yourself or others. It makes me think about the consequences of always expressing your true feelings, whether it's good or bad to do so, and how it might affect the world around you. And while lines like "I'm so scared of death, not fond of life" sound good when you're reading them to yourself or out loud, it's the vocal delivery and instrumentation that make these words burrow their way into your brain and paint pictures in your mind. Upon first listen, Marietta might sound like complete and utter chaos, which I would say is a pretty fair description, but any band can sound chaotic. With Marietta, it's a controlled, planned, and cohesive type of chaos, like that one friend who has the messiest room ever but can still find everything. Something about chaos is so intriguing, like you want to understand the madness of what's going on and keep coming back to it over and over. And that's how I feel about Summer Death as a whole.
I'm already getting pruny. What the heck?
It's only gonna go downhill from here. That's what you mean.
Marietta knows how to keep you on your toes by being loud, quiet, and everything in between, with songs going from pretty chill to super high energy, like on Deck Wine. Just when you think the song is about to fade out, you're met with some of the most compelling gang vocals I've ever heard. The town faded when the smoke quit moving. Gang vocals can be the greatest thing ever or come off as super corny, but for Marietta, it's definitely the former. They're sprinkled in for flavor when it can add something to a song, but never rely on them to finish a half-baked idea. The crashing cymbals, twinkly guitars, outbursts, and passionate yells meld together to create one giant wave of sorrow that's going to knock you down and prove once and for all just how unimportant your existence truly is. Everything on this album feels exactly as it should be. Nothing is too long or too short. There's not a moment of filler, and they're able to say exactly what they need to say in only 8 tracks. Nothing here was forced. It all happened because they wanted it to and decided to make it happen. They're one of the few bands that really lived on their own terms. It wasn't until I made this video that I realized just how rare of a band Marietta truly was. They were extremely young and incredibly talented, hardworking, kind, generous, and knew when to call it quits. And as a result, they've created something that people will love and respect for years to come. They never let money or ego muddy the waters of what they were doing, and not many groups can say that. If there's one central message or idea that I want to push in this video, it's treasure, appreciate, and celebrate your favorite bands while they're together and after they've broken up. If someone or something means something to you, keep their spirit alive. Thank you for watching.
Hey, remember that episode when I got fully naked?
Yeah, I think that might be this.
Let's try it out to make it a rerun.